Hello, duelists. Welcome back. And today we're going to be doing the RDC budget deck list for January 2025. These are the decks that I think are competitive, or at least viable, fun enough to play, fun enough to spend your money on, and cheap enough to where once you do spend your money on it, it's not going to put you into bankruptcy, like Rizio or Malice. There are going to be some good decks on here that cost a little bit more than others. But those are going to be the best bang for your buck decks. They're going to be like 150 bucks, but it's going to be like a highly competitive deck. There's not going to be many that make it up to this tier, but there are a few. Best budget is going to be just like exactly what it sounds like, the best budget. Good budget is good. It's a good budget. I mean, it's all right. Like, it's going to be a fun playable deck. And waiting for support may not necessarily mean that it is a bad deck, but it may be a very competitive deck once the support for it comes out. There's going to be a few that I put here right away. For example, I think the best example of this is Orcust. Orcust has the Link 1 and the Link 4 coming out. And once they do, drop in the TCG, which we still have a little bit ways to go in order for us to get those. We just got to wait. But once we do, it's going to be a very competitive and viable strategy. You can mix it with stuff like Horus. Horus is a very good engine, and I will put it in good budget. The only reason I will not put it in the best budget is because you are going to be spending a little bit of money on this, and it is an engine, so you still have to buy other engines other engines to put inside of it. For example, Tearlaments. It's all right, It just hasn't done enough. And if you want to play it, you have to buy Horus. Horus is a very expensive engine, in my opinion. M-Steadies are still running about 25 a copy, and the gold sarcophagus are still running about 7. So, with that being the case, it's definitely not the best budget that you can get. Back to Orcust, though. Orcust is definitely waiting on support. Once it comes out, I think it's going to be one of the best budget decks. Everything like that is in the deck right now, other than the ultimate rare Galateas, is dirt cheap. Super cheap. Aside from Horus. We'll get reprints someday. Good reprints. Someday. Not short prints like we did. We got reprints, but it literally did not drop the price of the card. Not even $1. Unfortunately. Another deck that is waiting on support is the Dragon Rulers. So Dragon Rulers have I think an Omni Negate and a Spell Trap Negate coming out. I think we have Cyber Dragons waiting on support as well. And we also have Eldritch waiting on support. All these decks are decently viable. Once this new support comes out, I would probably, if I had to order them, probably put them in this order. But again, they're just waiting on support. Some really fun budget decks. These ones are about $20 to play each. This is going to be Dino Ryuge and Sword Soul Ryuge. Both super fun combo strategies that add new one-card combos into the deck with Mistva, Ryuge Rising, and Extra Foolish Burial, all being at 3. Extra Foolish Burial sends Herald from extra deck, or it can send Entis for pops later in grind game. But it can send Herald to get you a free Ritual Monster, which grabs you Mistva. Mistva is literally one-card combo for both of these strategies. Branded. Definitely a good budget deck. Rest in peace Gimmick Puppet, but we still have Ra's Disciple. And it's the exact same thing. It just says you're not allowed to special summon any monsters as long as you control it. Pretty much what Gimmick Puppet said. Only difference is that Gimmick Puppet was a lingering on summon, not even activating effect. It just happens since you special summon the monster. It just locks you into it. Whereas Ra's Disciple is just while it's on the field, you cannot special summon. But it's a little bit more fair. The game definitely has not been nice to Branded. It has definitely struggled with only having one Branded fusion. You still need to play 3 of the Albion the Shrouded Dragon. You still need to play 3 Branded and High Spirits. And you still got to pray you get your Branded fusion and do not get Ash Blossomed. Everybody's playing Ash and Impulse hurts the deck too, so it's just really not in a good spot. Centurion. It is one of the best bang for your buck decks. You're going to get 2 Omni Negates out of this deck. 4K beaters. You can also make like Super Red Nova or any other Synchro 10s, really. The deck is crazy. You get the BCL stuff in there and it's even more deadly. And there's other engines that are being tested with it too, so Centurion's definitely going to be on that list for best bang for your buck decks. Along with Voiceless Voice, again, 4100 beat stick, Omni Negate. Very similar strategy. Protects all of its spells and traps just like Centurion. It's one of those decks. Labyrinth, best bang for your buck decks. This is one of those decks that's just going to shut down your opponent with your deck devastation viruses, and with a transaction rollback being reprinted, a lot of the deck is fairly cheap as long as you don't stack the extra deck with like 3 Chaos Angel, 3 SP, etc. Ritual Beast. Ritual Beast is definitely going to be one of the best budget decks. This deck will run you about 50, 60 bucks. Nothing. And to be able to play Protoss and Colossus in the same deck, shutting down all of your opponent's plays, it's definitely a very viable best budget deck strategy. It has a little bit of consistency issues, but one of the sacrifices that you have to play by not playing the meta, unfortunately. Drytron, I mean, it's alright. Like, depending on what you play it with, you can play it with Magician of Black Chaos Max Lock. You can play it with the Negates with Herald and Eva. You can play it with Voiceless Voice, since Ben 10 can search stuff like Low, Prayers of the Voiceless Voice. Being able to cross between the engines is very, very nice, but Drytron dies to Bystials, dies to Droll, dies to Ash, dies to pretty much any hand tribe you can think of. It's just really not going to be in a good spot. All of their effects special summon, so Impulse is deadly to the deck. They special summon from everywhere, all over the place, so they're definitely going to be hurt by both of the Molchummy cards. They're just not in a good fashion spot right now. Dark Worlds, same thing. Just they draw way too many cards. They die to way too many hand traps. They don't really die to the Bestials, but they are hurt by the Bestials. Kashira, it's one of the best budget decks. This is a deck that you can spend your 60, 70 bucks on and know that you're at least still getting 3 Kashira Ephemera out of this no matter what, because they're about 15 bucks a piece, and it's a good staple just to have. So Kashira is still one of those best budget decks. You can splash it in stuff like Malice 2 and other engines as well. You can put it with the Dragon Rulers as well, level 7s. So I would say it's one of the best budget decks for what you're getting out of it. Sprite, one of the best budget decks as well. You're spending like 40 bucks on this deck for all max rarity secret rares. Like, you're getting pretty cards and it's super cheap. You can't beat that. You make a Toad that you can special summon back off of Double Cross. You can make Gigantic up to 7,800 attack with Gamma Burst and the what's the Cat Shark? Yeah, Cat Shark. You get Spell Trap Negates and Monster Negates off of Sprite Red and Sprite Carrot, respectively. Any 2 level 2s, as long as one of them isn't removed from the field, is really good. The deck can die to removal, so Ryzeal is deadly to this deck. But for the price of being 40 bucks, you're definitely going to get some wins at your locals. And I would say it's worth the budget. Goblin Biker, playing against these Xyz decks like Kashira and Ryzeal specifically, has a very good matchup, and for that reason I would say it's one of the best budget decks to pick up at the moment. It's going to run you, I want to say like 90 to 100 bucks including staples. Memento, I'm going to put it down in good budget decks. While it is a good, very good budget deck, while it is a good deck, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's very budget. You have to spend about 24 a copy on one of the Memento spells, and then I think that there's another $10 staple in the deck that you need as well. And for the same reason, I'm going to do the same thing with White Forest. Same thing. It's a very good deck. It really is. I just can't say that it's necessarily budget with having 3 cards that are $20 a piece and then 3 cards that are $14 a piece. It's a good budget deck. It's really good. but it's definitely a pricey one for not being as powerful as stuff like Labyrinth, Centurion, and Voiceless. I wouldn't say that it's worth the price that it is now. I would say wait. Yubel, best bang for your buck deck. You can play this deck without the Fiendsmith stuff and without the really heavy, expensive Unchained stuff, and still have it be pretty viable. You still need the Unchained, but like you can buy it at a cheap price, have it be playable, and slowly build it up over time. And with it only having the one Phantom and the 3 opening of the Spirit Gates now, the consistency goes up, but the grind game goes down. They can't make that Omni negate over and over again. Fluwandereeze, it's a good budget deck. It's like 20-30 bucks. It's super cheap. It's definitely budget, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a good deck. If you're playing birds, people aren't going to like you. Your friends are not going to like you. It's just how it is. It's birds. No hate to bird players out there, but they're birds. You know what you're doing. Fire Kings with Volcanics coming back or coming into the game. It definitely brings Fire King back from its fiery grave like the Phoenix. I will say Snake Eyes being hit, OSS, the line, the bridge being gone for Poplar instead of Poplar going for your Ponix. Without that anymore, the deck is very, very, very nerfed. But with Volcanics, the deck can play on its own pure. And since we're doing the Fire Kings, we'll say Mermail as well. Mermail. It's a good budget deck. We'll put it at the top of good budget. I would say that this deck is very good for a couple of reasons, but specifically because of the hand ripping aspect. You get to look at your opponent's hand, banish 1 until the end phase. You get to discard 2 cards from their hand, and then you get to banish a 4th card off of Trishula from their hand and from their graveyard. 1 card from their graveyard. So being able to do that is really crazy, leaving your opponent with 1 card. And they can do that through interruptions, so even if you use your hand traps, you're almost screwing yourself more, because after you use your hand traps and then they discard your entire hand, you're relying on your top deck and hoping that your opponent's Bahamut Shark doesn't end your game. And believe me, that Bahamut Shark is bringing out a toad. We got Salamangreat, another fire deck. We gotta love fire. It's a good budget deck. It's not better than Mermail. Actually, tempted to say it's not better than the Sword Soul stuff either. But it is very, 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 very cheap, with Promethean Princess being like a $2 card now, and Raging Phoenix not being $50 or $100 anymore. It's like $20. So you can build this deck with an expectancy to stay within like 50 to 60 bucks, which is not bad. And it's Cybers. Cybers is always going to be consistent. We just got to hope that the Link monsters, like the generics, actually, they probably won't affect Salads, but we got to hope that generic Cybers monsters aren't hit too bad because of Malice. Bestial Control / Dragonlink. It's a good budget deck. Problem is, Druid Swarm is like 17 bucks a copy, and Lubellion is like 25 bucks a copy. So it's not necessarily a cheap deck, but it is a very fun rogue deck. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily top meta tier 1. Minigol. It's one of the best budget decks. Level 1 spam. You can play it with Pearly now too, and this allows you to pretty much give your opponent Mystic Mine. You give your opponent a face down on their turn that they can't flip face up, and as long as they control it, they can't normal summon any monsters, and the effects of their special summon monsters are negated. So it's pretty much GG's from there. Melodious. Melodious is a fun combo deck. It's a good fusion deck. One of the better fusion decks. It's definitely above branded right now, but it's not showing tops like it should be. Although I do love some pens. Melodious is one of those strategies. If you're playing it, I respect you. You should stay within your budget too, within like 80 bucks. Plant Link, very complicated strategy. If you are British, it's one of the best budget decks in the game. Probably even the best budget deck in the game. Actually, it's probably the best bang for your buck deck in the game if you are British. But if you are American, it is a good budget deck. Simple as that. I don't have to explain anything else. Rescue Ace. We got Airlifter back. Let's go. Another good fire deck. Only problem is no Snake Eye stuff. and Hydrant's really hittable. Other than that, we love seeing Rescue Ace back. Sky Striker, let's go second. Probably one of the best budget decks in the game. Probably gonna put it up here. It's like $20, $30, as long as you're not going for max rarity. And it's just consistent Blitz go second, or you can play it with the Malice stuff, which then is just busted. Pearly, another good deck. Put it up here with Mimigal because it can be played with Mimigal. Another level 1 spam deck, just makes an Xyz that shuffles, 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 and shuffles. It's a great deck, great deck. Shining Sark, it's alright, it's alright. It banishes the entire field face up. Yeah, that's what it does. Banishes the entire field face up. Vanquish Soul. It's a good budget deck if you play your columns. And I would say that it is not necessarily the cheapest right now, simply because you still need those Cashier Offenders and the Cashier Rysart. And on top of that, I think this Vanquish Soul monster, the big guy, he is way more expensive than what he should be right now. He's like $15 because the other guys got reprint and he didn't. The other guys got reprints and he didn't. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I would pick up Vanquish Soul if it weren't for the fact that he's so expensive. And I think that's all I got for this one. Honestly, this is my budget tier list for this one. I wouldn't change anything. I would say that these could be higher. Memento, White Forest, and Bestial. They could be higher if they were cheaper. Like, I would put them, like, if I was disregarding their price, probably put this one under Fire Kings, probably under Pearly, probably right above Sky Striker Pure. Mimigal, or Memento is definitely going to be above Mimigal. It's definitely better than Fire King, too. And Goblin Biker in any other matchup. And these two. And White Force is better than that deck. This is how I would put it if they were like cheaper decks, but with that not being the case, I'm gonna have to keep them in good budget simply because they're too expensive. With having 2 cards that cost $20 a piece, it just makes the deck very, very, very unaffordable. But yeah, that's what I would leave it at for this one. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you guys have any other decks that I missed, let me know down in the comments. I made sure to get Salamangreats this time. I saw that comment in the last video, so I'm reading them. Let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for stopping in. Bye-bye.